So, let's go do our With Consent podcast. You got your boy, Malibu Micah, and
I'm bad. Just bad.
Just Baron.
Just bad.
Just Baron. Like, he doesn't need all the extra stuff. I think I do the extra stuff. I don't know if it's for me. We'll get into that later on. Anyway, Malibu Micah, hashtag Malibu Micah. You know where to find us at. So welcome to our podcast. It's called With Consent. We're your host, and why with consent? We'll get to that a little bit later. Definitely. But it will be with consent. Okay. But we want to do a run through of our show. This is going to be episode 1 take. We can't really consider the last one a real take, can we?
Nah, we're having fun with the camera.
Fun with the camera.
False.
For us. All right, so let's get it going. So let's do our introduction. Introduction for today. We're going to be talking about. Give me one of those. Just so.
Let's talk about
Go up.
guilty pleasures.
Man, we can't start with that. First
okay.
episode. Come on now, episode 1. Guilty pleasure.
Time versus money.
Excellent. 99.9% of all people have more what than what?
Time
Than money. And my time is effing valuable. Can we cuss? We probably can cuss. I don't think it should be rated R just yet.
Damn is not a customer. I mean, well, it's a customer, but moms aren't going to freak out when you use it. Right?
No. See, my mom, I don't know if she was cruel or she was just unusual, but my mom literally used to beat us for saying heck because it's too close to heck.
Let's agree that all black moms have a combination of cruel and unusual. That's what makes them great moms.
So, do you remember this? Because everybody talks about the whoopings with the switches and shit like that. You remember that?
Yeah, most definitely.
Go give me the switch, go give me the belt and stuff like that. What was the purpose of moms? Because I seen this on Facebook.
Yeah.
This grandma beating the shit out of this baby's hands like this. Why do we have to do that? Why was our hand? Then we couldn't touch nothing.
That's it. Shit, when you touching the house.
But we wasn't in trouble for touching shit. We was in regular trouble. I think the punishment should fit the crime. It never fits the crime.
Well, I mean, that has nothing to do with him or them.
Nor will it ever fit the crime. That's what I'm trying to believe.
Black moms whoop ass because they want to whoop ass.
Black moms, can we do what is it? Mute black moms?
Listen,
can we start
trying to get me slapping the shit out of my mama?
Listen, no, she loved me. Fuck that. Goddamn, what is it called? Green bean casserole on deck.
My mama don't make no damn green bean casserole. First off, listen. You've been bamboozled. Run amok.
Let her straight.
My mama don't make no damn green bean casserole. We got melanin in my household. Melanated kitchens do not make green bean casserole.
Wait a minute. Wait, I'm interested though. Let's not get that confused.
Interesting. Ain't no party.
Listen, 100% interested.
We're gonna take a poll on the show, ladies.
Ladies, of all your chocolate fantasies, who gets it? Who gets it?
Micah J or Idris? I want to see the poll at the end of the show, man.
If I had a different accent, which actually never mind. Let's get back to the show in the segment. Today, what we're going to be discussing is time versus money. Is it better? Can I rock out with that?
Yeah,
try. Come on, let's ride with that. I'm going to be doing between the hours of midnight and 2 a.m. by Idris accent. I think people could go for that. Anyway, back to time versus money. I'm gonna ask you some questions, or matter of fact, we need to be getting to the quota today, but we'll come back to that. You want to come back to that?
Yeah, we'll come back to that.
Okay, cool. Because I think there's a lot of quotes. Like you can get more. How does that quote go? You can always have time but find money. Oh, fuck it. You can get more women by chasing. You don't want to do that one? That's a good quote, right?
Quote it out there, Michael.
Quote it out there. Okay. How does it go? You can always find. Look that up for me. This is our grad research assistant. Extraordinaire. Face that. All right, that's fair. That's fair. Okay. Anyway, we're gonna find out the quote of the day. In the meantime, about time being more. But what it's more about to I think a lot of us is consideration. Would you agree? Consideration. When people are inconsiderate of your time, it makes them feel unimportant. Unimportant is probably a low word.
Yeah.
There's a higher word. It devalues them. Fuck the importance of it. It devalues them, their credibility, their stance in your life, their station in your life, exactly what you mean to them when you don't respect a person's time. Now, don't get me wrong, we're obviously going to get into it talking about these goddamn women, right? I mean, just saying. No, listen. Hashtag mute Cardi B. But we'll get into that too. I got a lot of way to get into that, right? You know what I'm saying? Guilty. But we ain't. Matter of fact, tag her. Can we tag her in that one?
Yeah, we're going to tag Cardi in that one.
We're going to tag Cardi in that one. Make sure y'all tag Cardi in this, okay? Kurt. Wait. Cup sponsored by Cardi. Tag her.
Cardi juice.
Cardi juice. Alright. What we're going to do is this, okay? What were we talking about? Time versus money?
Time versus money.
Time versus money.
Do you think that time is money?
Time has to be money.
Alright, which is more important?
Time.
Time. Why is that?
Because it's the only thing in life that you can't get back.
Say I'm a 21-year-old single dad. Can I pay my fucking
Wait.
with time?
Wait. Yeah, you can.
With time.
You can pay it with time because
Does Huntsville Utilities take time?
I don't know what Huntsville Utilities take. I mean, I'll tell you this.
Well, clearly you know what they take.
You gonna put the license on. I'm saying, think about this. You're saying if you had more time, you can create more money. You get what I'm saying? You have time to create money.
I definitely understand that.
But once your time is gone, you can't do anything about anything.
And I understand in the proverbial sense. But I'm asking you.
So first big word of the day. Proverbial.
Yours truly. Baron, just Baron. Can you go to Huntsville Utilities and pay them with time? No, absolutely
You're
not.
talking practicality. How about this? If Huntsville Utilities gave you 30 days to come up with money to pay their ass.
Well, they do. That's the nature of this. Like,
thank you. So you have 30 minutes. You have 30 days to pay. Well, I don't know. Some of you motherfuckers is kind of like 15 to 30 past already. Motherfuckers come with them orange placards on your door.
Tomato.
No. Honestly, I remember in college we had some rough ass days. Nigga, you come home,
boys.
Yeah. You see them goddamn placards on your door. You be like, fuck. Let me see who I know. What's her name? You think she'll let me borrow? Well, at least I can sleep on the couch till the shit get back home. Listen, we're not saying any names on this show. To be fair, we do not have consent. Everything we do on this show is what?
With consent.
All right. So we're gonna get back to that. Anyway, respect people's time. Okay, that's probably the biggest thing that we can. You got that quote from me yet?
Yeah, lost time is never found again.
Ever.
I think that piggyback on what you were saying, Murray. But that quote is by a slave owner, and we do not support that.
We do not support slave owner. Okay.
How about this one? Time is like money. The less we have it spare, the further we make it go.
Say that again.
Time is like money. The less we have of it to spare, the further we make it to go. Doesn't make sense to me.
That I don't know who Josh Billings is, but
well, there's a guy from New Orleans by the name of Dwayne Carter. He said, if time is money, I'm an hour past paid.
That sounds cool.
Yeah.
I'm cool. Okay. Let's go with this. People or society has set in America the 40-hour work week, right?
Uh-huh.
And they set your wage at what you make per hour. Do you realize that some people on this earth actually make less than poverty per hour? What does that say about their time? That's pretty deep. Let's probably not go there.
Yeah, let's not do that.
I just thought about how cruel that was. So I'll give you a short story, if you will. I don't think it is one that's inhumane. You know, it really is inhumane. But I remember growing up. It's 8 of us in our family. My mother had 8 children, and our father was incarcerated a few times growing up. And I remember my mother at one point in time living in a household working for a nonprofit, working at a nonprofit like halfway house, helping residents get back on their feet and get them job on their feet and get job and transition their life back to society. During that time, without an education, my mother was only a seamstress. I can't tell you. I don't remember in totality what her matriculation was like into adulthood, whether she had kids and had to drop out first or whatever. I probably should sit down and ask her, but that's something I have to do.
That would be a good
Yeah, that'd probably be good. But she's a doctor now, so let's just hear. But I know at one point in time, she had 13 people living in the house, including my siblings and their children, living in a 3-bedroom house. And at that time, she was only making $14,000 a year. And she worked day and night. So in that point in time, her time was below poverty, and it sucked ass. I mean, growing up poor, a lot of people, don't get me wrong, it was hell. But for those of us who have made it to better times, or even some of those times where we can look back and say those, syrup sandwiches and shit like
peanut
that.
butter syrup.
Yeah, those times were fucking fun. I don't care what you say. I mean, I don't know how many days in y'all life 7, 8 motherfuckers ever split one candy bar or a bag of chips and a soda. But that's all that $5 of food stamps could get us. But we enjoyed it. But in that sense, I would say, I know this is going to probably sound converse and our audience will probably disagree, but at that point in time, man, our time together became priceless.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Now, my mother on the opposite end suffered greatly, had to be mentally and physically. But that time that we spent together with one another, our siblings becoming our best friends, it made that time in our lives priceless compared to the mundane routines that we do now. Getting up, going to work, paying bills, finding times to travel, finding times to do these different things. And the only real good fun that we have is keeping the lights on sometimes.
Yeah.
Anyway, you got any sad stories you can tell to match mine?
Too many.
Let's just have some really, really sad stories to go.
But I think you hit it home when you said, the time versus money. But when you value your time and you're not paying for it, impoverished, at least you made it on a different side though.
Yeah, true. True. And you know what? I think it sometimes that poverty-stricken life that we grew up in made us built of sterner stuff. You know what I'm saying? It transformed our lives. Now, it didn't teach us. It wasn't people giving us fish. It was learning how to be fishermen ourselves. Yeah. I'll be damned if I go without food now. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? People always say, "Oh, you guys have jobs and you have this and you're blessed and this and this and this." And everybody's not so fortunate. As long as I have health, life, and strength in my body, and God's given me a sound mind, I still have the ability to now take those skills, those traits that I have, that learn and go out and goddamn hustle.
That's right.
I can fish. Now, to be clear, I mean that metaphorically, because
he can't do shit with a pole in his hand. Pause.
Paul, please. But that's fair.
That's fair.
That's fair. That's fair.
That's fair.
Anyway, though, I really got rebuttal. We can't turn the conversation negative. See, you just turned it to negative.
Yeah,
and you know what? But you gotta have consent. You gotta have consent to say those things. Sorry. He does not have consent, ladies and gentlemen. He does not.
I retract that.
Thank you. Okay. Guilty?
Guilty.
All right. So, let's move.
That's our topic of the day. And we want to talk about some positive people in the community. Who do you have for us today, Mike?
Positive people in the community? Honestly, I hadn't thought of anybody specifically positive. Actually, I do. There's a young lady right now who just did something very, very positive today. Her name is Kristen Bell. I don't know her exact role at Sparkman Middle School, but Sparkman Middle School out here, and she actually even though Cardi B, you Cardi B, even though she did something for the guys at our school, or I guess the whole community, if you will, now because it's become a little bit viral, where she did a parody of Cardi B, the Bodak Yellow, I think it is, and it's passing, something about passing. I'll go back and look it up because I don't have the exact thing. But Kristen Bell did like a parody on it to help kids get excited about their upcoming testing and things of this nature. When I say absolutely wonderful, the kids looked excited in the video and things of that nature too. And you just think about it, during the time when we were growing up, that was like the most stressful time before the test.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm a great test taker. I always did well, but there's a lot of people who don't do well for testing.
Yeah, that's true.
They really don't do well for testing. So to get excited, something that they're familiar with, think about it. If they have incentives for these children who actually do well testing, just because they don't have that stress or anything like that, man, I can see that being positive. But what was the name of that movie? Lean on Me. Remember?
What smoke crack, don't you?
Smoke crack, don't you? Jump, Sam's.
But no, yeah, congratulations.
Yeah.
To you, Kristen Bell.
Yes, congratulations for being one of the positive people in the community, changing the lives of your students and those in the community, and honestly, teaching people who've seen the video now that there's a better way to prepare for tests than just sitting kids down and beating the hell out of them until they realize what's going on. So, salute. All right, so now's the fun time. We'll come up with 3 questions. So since Barry's been quite quiet today.
Quite quiet.
Now, you can say that like 10 times fast. Quite quiet.
I can.
It sounds like saying quite quiet. Yeah. You always wanted to be a duck.
No. I don't do anything duck-like.
Well, that's fair.
Okay.
That's fair.
I don't quack.
Ooh. Pause.
Always.
All right. So I'm gonna ask you this: 3 questions, okay? Okay. 3 questions are going to be things we've seen, questions from one another, just things I know about you personally, unfortunately, or current events. All right. All right. Question 1. Question 1 is. I paid attention to your social media. Okay.
Right.
And I've seen you come up with questions of your own.
I do.
A lot of questions. Okay. I've also seen the results posted as well too.
This is true.
This is true. So the question I want to ask, when these people respond to these questions, is it with or without consent?
Listen, I'm not on these folks' social media pages pressing the buttons, delivering skewed data.
Skewed data plus or minuses.
Yeah, this is all consensual data given.
Okay.
I do ask
provocative
questions for data purposes only.
What do you do with the data?
I just internalize it. It gives me a barometric reading of the generation in which we live.
Second big word of the day, barometric.
What? For example, I asked 2 simultaneous questions. I said, black men don't cheat, true or false?
True.
It is a true statement. Black men do not cheat.
Black men don't cheat.
However, the majority of women, over 70%,
Wait a minute.
found that black men do indeed cheat. Now, to be fair, I made another question. I said,
is that question subjective or objective?
Well, it's however they feel like pressing their Twitter. They answered the question, and I asked you. I said, hey, black women don't cheat, true or false? And all those same women that we may or may not know have cheated before in life answered that they don't cheat. So
wait a minute, I done been cheated on before.
I have as well.
I've been cheated on by that dirty round scoundrel.
I have been ran amok. I've been
led astray,
bamboozled.
Man, when I say
in the name of
man,
love,
these ladies, if you cheated, can I get a guilty? 1, 2, 3.
Guilty.
All right, I just needed to know. I need to know.
I do ask these kind of questions on my social media.
Right.
So.
Very entertaining if you're during the day around lunch break if you have nothing to do.
Now, Alexa.
Yeah, please listen. Although I do want to let you know this is hashtag NSFW. You know what that means? Not safe for work. I assume most of our audience, if you have a device in your hand, you probably have a job. We're not here to get you fired, okay? So you do not have our consent to watch this at work, all right? All right.
No consent.
No consent. No consent. Okay. From one another, all right?
Yeah.
This is from, you could be you to me or me to you.
So listen.
All right.
You're a very emotional guy. And I know the connection you had with the Los Angeles community. Did you cry when Nipsey died?
In all honesty, I physical tears didn't come out of my hashtag Nipsey. All right.
Man, not closing.
I didn't physically cry, but internally, I felt I was mourning internally.
Okay.
And of course, everybody has their own opinions and things of this nature about why they feel a certain way or anything like this. But you all know me, you know my family and the things that we do. One thing that you know about us that to be true among anything is the fact that we're givers, and more importantly, givers to those.
Pause.
Yes. Guilty. Guilty. And that's fair. That's fair. Okay. But we love to give back to our communities. In which we do business, in which we operate, in which we
consent.
With consent. Party and play with consent. Definitely with consent. But giving back to our communities is something that it is on our hearts to do, and we've done it for several years. It started with our mother and her thing. I remember, like I said, as a child, her working her various nonprofits, going around on Thanksgiving Day, even though we didn't have things ourselves, going around town and giving back, turkeys on the holidays and stuff like this. Even though some of those boxes of meals look really good, we could have used them things, sneak a can or something in the house. But anyway, back to Nipsey. He was just a good guy. Of course, I lived in LA and I got a chance to see a lot of the positives that he did in and around town, what type of man he was. Now, an important thing about marathon is not where you begin, but how you end, and it's a continual race. You keep running that race for a long time. It's not a sprint. It's not a dash or anything of that nature. It's a really long race, and during the race, you give all you can during that time. And I think the fact that he was cut short in the middle of producing for those who need it most. His music was okay, if we want to be fair, but his life
dope.
Okay. I'm not gonna say
it was.
I'm not
saying
saying
it not been your taste.
No, I didn't say it wasn't my taste. I'm saying his music in comparison. I'm comparing it to his life. I don't want to distract from his legacy at all. I'm talking about the fact that what he stood for was better than the man himself.
Yeah, most definitely.
You get what I'm saying? Yeah. Better than his talents that he had. Because in my mind, his talent as someone who gave back to the community far supersedes his impact of his music. However, now if everybody still wants to go and stream his music, from what I hear, I haven't done the proper or adequate research to know, but I hear that the proceeds do go to his family. It is a fallacy, so I don't want you to think that JC gave $15 million for a fund for his kids. That turned out to be true. That's another thing we'll get into on one of our segments called fact checking. And a lot of us are guilty of reposting and saying stuff and spreading lies and spreading rumors without actually doing our research on things. So, and I don't mean bookieboo.com said it, so it got to be true, or Tay and them was definitely, I heard that my cousin. A lot of people lie, people, okay? Yeah. Okay? A lot of people lie. So don't go reposting stuff. Anyway, back to his legacy. A great man, cut short in his time. Not just because he's from LA, but if you look at the type of vibe that he sparked, the type of what he came from and where he was going, and the change, you can see his maturation process for the last 10 years that he went through in developing himself to be embraced by his community and be embraced by other like-minded individuals within his own industry was because of his impact that he had. And those of us who are still or still in mourning or still striving to understand what happened, the best thing that you can do is follow in his footsteps. Like anything else, is follow in the footsteps. Give back to somebody. I often do give backs and things. We'll get into that later on. I say that a lot, but we have a lot to talk about on the show. But the best thing you can do is give back. The best way to respect his wishes or his legacy is to give back as best as you can. It doesn't have to be money. It could be kind acts. It could be kind acts. It could be anything. But giving back, being greater than what you're here and being selfless. Be selfless, guys. All right. Okay, now let's talk about current events. All right.
Uh-huh.
This one, I hope everybody's been tuning in. It's not here, but it's in the news. Okay. Shout out to my pastor up in Illinois, Reverend Otis Moss III. He wrote a wonderful, wonderful write-up for the Trib, and he was talking about basically willful blindness in Chicago. How there's two separate Chicagos. And we're talking about, yes, Jussie Smollett, yes, Laquan McDonald. Now, do I know whether or not Jussie is guilty or not? Don't know. No. Chances are, based on the evidence, he may have been. Don't know.
He wasn't convicted.
He wasn't convicted, but he wasn't tried either. So we don't know the details of that. However, when there was clear evidence that the previous state's attorney went through great lengths to cover up the videotapes of the officers shooting Laquan McDonald, everybody, the Fraternal Order of Police and a lot of other people were silent on that matter. You can't be silent on a matter that big where an actual life was involved, but now you have even Agent Orange in the greatest position in our land chiming into something like that. Where was the outrage then? The selective outrage is something that we, in my opinion, can't stand. So in all of that, what do you feel, if anything, is a solution, or how can things be righted in this solution, if you will, or in this matter?
It's important to note that when we're talking about our criminal justice system, and when we're critiquing our criminal justice system, we have to keep in mind that it's the only one that we have. We can't enact new policies. We can't hold people who are in charge to a higher standard unless there are laws in the books. Every 4 years, blacks like to get into this whole rock the vote notion, mumbo jumbo, if you will. When in all actuality, that's not the most important election you can pay attention to. You have mayoral, municipal, county elections that supersede anything on a national level.
Far supersede.
This is where you elect your state officials, who, by the way, in the state legislation put laws on the books that have a direct impact on your community. We fail to vote during those times. Mayoral elections, we fail to vote during those times. The mayor is the chief of police's boss.
100%.
That's the HNIC.
As you see, Rahm Emanuel get in, which asked the feds to get in, which asked the state to blow up the way it did. But let me add this to it, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Also, it's the politics that we're most familiar with.
Yeah.
We know what the hell is going on in our own communities.
Of course.
You know what's going on at your children's school. You know what's going on with the police around town. You know why we can't go downtown because they feel a certain way towards our color downtown, our hue downtown. There's several different laws and policies and procedures that are in place. And we have the most or the highest impact directly on them. We know where their offices are.
Of course.
Now when these other things happen, they call this number.
When Jussie when Jussie's charges were dismissed, you saw about 30 police officers on stage with the mayor. On stage about an attack that may or may not have happened.
A lot of them was black.
And you have a lot of toddlers and preteens and adolescents getting killed
Daily.
Where are those 30 police officers at? Preventing this crime. You know, community policing is something that
their outfits were pretty clean, though.
Pristine.
Pretty clean.
They're in the office.
Prim and pressed.
Prim and proper, if you would. Instead of community policing, you have retroactive policing, which doesn't solve a damn thing in these impoverished neighborhoods. Some of the neighborhoods we're talking about have a very low socioeconomic status. We're not talking about your President Barack Obama's neighborhood. We're talking about the gritty neighborhoods in Chicago, who have some of the best family structures I've ever seen. I visited them with this guy. If we don't want to take a stance on community policing, then we shouldn't take a stance on Jussie Smollett, who I can give a damn less about if he actually did it or not. But to equate Jussie Smollett to Laquan McDonald would be to assume that a black life means anything to those badges.
Well,
and
pardon moi. Now we're getting into a little deeper wormhole that I don't think everybody wanted to get into. Let's just say there's two different dynamics in here. There's two different dynamics in this thing. A black man, one with money, one without money, one who is a homosexual, one who was not a homosexual. Let's just be honest.
We're not gonna get to this.
Let's just be honest. Let's just be honest. The force of the homosexual community is very, very strong.
Yeah.
It is very, very strong. However, it is condemned by the right. So I don't know if the president's involvement in it happened because they're far right and they just don't, like what's going on that side of the table or with the homosexual community. But I do know to be black is bad, but to be black and gay is really bad, and that's what the message seems as well. So it's really bad on both sides. I hate it for everybody involved. I specifically hate it for Kim Fox. I don't know if they did the right thing or the way it should have gone, but I do know that if we're going to reopen this case on Jussie Smollett, then the case on Laquan McDonald also needs to be investigated by the feds as well too, and clearly, the hell, we can go down the list on this one. Yeah. That's a wormhole. Yeah. Shout out to the real soldiers who lost their life in the struggle for equality.
Yes, indeed.
All right.
Freedom is not given. It's not free.
It's not free. Oh, they got really deep.
Yeah, it did.
They got really deep.
It needed to be expounded upon.
Yeah, but we had to say it. If we don't say it, then we're not doing our job. And what's that quote? You probably want to look it up for me. It says something about us being lost when good men do nothing. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's when we lose our voice towards the things that matter is when we've lost our way, people. We've lost our way when we don't know how to speak up, help the least of these, be that voice for the voiceless, the meek, I know the Bible says the meek shall inherit the earth, but in my earnest and honest opinion, I think that the meek need a little bit of assistance right now. So let's speak up for them. We speak up for our children. We speak up for those who can't do it for themselves, and we'll be better off for it. Okay. Now we've reached a very, 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 very significant point of our show. This is going to be called Confessions.
Yeah.
Wait, I was the only one dancing, so I can't.
Yeah, listen,
I can't. I guess this is kind
we
of
do not
bad.
have Ursula's consent.
We do not have Ursula's consent.
We are not about to.
Nor do we have the Catholic Church's consent on this one either.
They don't have a lot of consent either. But
guilty.
Guilty.
That's fair. That's fair.
Is that fair?
That's fair. That's fair. That's fair. It gotta be fair. Okay. Definitely guilty. Okay. And that's a zone we can judge, right?
Yeah.
We gotta judge that zone.
Yeah, listen, they're gonna judge one Christian church. We might as well judge all of them. But we ain't gonna do that right now.
Put them in a circle.
Speaking of which, that Facebook post, we're not gonna.
We'll come back to that. We'll come back to that. Let's get back to confessions. Okay. I'll start the confessions, and then you can go. So today, I gotta come to you with a confession.
All right.
Oh man, that's a horrible confession. So my daughter, she just turned 5. My beautiful, beautiful ladybug just turned 5 the other day. And I'm on the phone with her. She gives me a call. She doesn't live here. She lives in Illinois. She gives me a call first thing. Well, I talked to her first thing in the morning for her birthday, like 6 in the morning. And I'm talking to her. I'm singing her, oh, happy birthday, baby girl. Happy birthday, happy birthday. You're a big girl. You're 5. You're 5, baby girl, baby 5. First thing out of her mouth was, good, Daddy. Now I don't gotta wear panties no more. I confess, I was to call my daughter out. Lord Jesus. I confess. I was distraught. I said, no, baby. Matter of fact, we will get you some bigger panties, baby.
First off, we here at Good Consent don't believe in the living of women's hoes.
We don't ever.
But I understand.
I'm just gonna be honest with you. I'll be honest with you. It was the first time my baby girl broke my heart. I'm gonna be honest. It hurt.
Let me free.
It hurt. Anyway, that's my confess. I gotta apologize to my daughter, both verbally and I bought her a lot of gifts to make up for it. But it was my first time. I just went through something that tragic with my daughter. I confess I was wrong. Oh, it hurts so bad. What's your confession? Confess for both of us.
Yeah, can't go over that shit. Forgive me. You confess for the both of us.
Forgive me. Am I absolved?
Yeah,
Please
you are absolved.
Oh gosh. Okay. That was horrible. That was absolutely horrible. It hurt. Just imagine having that conversation. It may or may not come. I'm glad I was able to have it with her first, though, right?
Yeah. And the rest of the world.
Well, the world now knows, but
Yeah.
that was back in the past. I've confessed since then. You know what I'm saying? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. That's my first time I ever told somebody about this story. No.
You want some too, old man?
No. Okay. All right. The next, my nose is starting to run. Next up, we're gonna end it. I think we can close it out almost, right?
Yeah, you can definitely close it out, man.
We can close it out. It's getting time. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's get ready for moments of consent on a go no go.
Yeah. Listen, guys, you're out. She's wasted. You're wasted. Nobody can give anybody consent.
Ever.
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
No consent can be given. No consent can be obtained.
Ever.
Don't do it.
Listen,
Just
this
cuddle
is
her.
your conscience speaking.
Cuddle her. Go to sleep in the...
Don't cuddle her. Please don't cuddle her. Because
Don't do anything.
Cuddling means go home.
Yeah.
Go home.
Uber.
Listen. Tipsy cuddling. Is that a such thing?
It is a such thing.
Is there such a tipsy cuddling?
Tipsy cuddling.
Don't tipsy cuddle.
Do not tipsy cuddle.
Tipsy cuddle. Can we get a hashtag on that?
Yeah, no tipsy cuddling.
No tipsy cuddling.
Ladies, don't fall for the trap either. It's 11 o'clock at night, you're on social media, and the young man texts you while you ain't sleep, big head. Do not respond. Do not respond. You're going to end up 5 months pregnant.
Oh, nothing.
You're going to wake up 5 months pregnant.
Fellas, take it from somebody who knows. Not that I have their consent to say this or not, but listen, don't let them $7 sweats, them leggings, cost you $300,000 in child support. Listen, they starting to go into college these days. I just heard of something the other day where the woman is 60. Was she 61? And her mother or somebody like that is now going back. I think it's in California or Seattle. The lady's like 61 or 41, and now the mom is going back to the dad because he left the country, coming back and getting due child support for this guy. Like literally. Don't get me wrong. He shouldn't have did that. That was literally. We don't call people dickheads. We call them penises. Like penises. This is way worse. You can do nothing with a penis.
But at 61.
But yeah, listen. The system ain't for you, bruh. The system ain't for you.
She said grandkids get child support.
Or great grands. Come on, look what age we in now. This is great grands.
She was like grandma at 30?
Oh, grandma ain't got dog on 27.
Oh, 27? Your grandma at 27.
Because you had 13, 14. The next one got to start up at least 1 year. At least I ain't having at 13. You had yours at 14. You had me at 14. I had mine at 13. I'm grown. Matter of fact, if you know any grandmas in their 20s, can you please get a tag on that one? Tag us. We want to talk to them. Want to invite them on the show. We want to talk to them. Grandmas, how did it work out? Listen, this is a judge-free.
We do not judge you with consent.
We don't do that. We don't judge people. Judge-free zone. Listen, everybody got faults and failures. I ain't seen a perfect person walking this earth.
That's right.
All right? So, we guys want to thank you guys for tuning in with Malibu Micah and Baron. Everybody, you can find me at one Micah J on Instagram, and I don't think y'all need to be necessarily following me on Facebook. Yeah, that's for somebody different. I don't know if I will put this up there just for them just yet, but at the number 1 Micah MICAHJ, and
catch me on Instagram at Gone Wild. XO. GONEWILDXO.
Okay. And as always.
Yo. Safe sex is better than no sex.
And no sex without consent. All right, guys. Signing off. We'll see you next week. 45 for the sum.